Tea, the second most consumed drink in the world after water today, has over 4,000 years of history back in China, but wasn't introduced to the world until the most recent 300 years. Whether it is green tea, black tea, oolong tea, or fancy matcha, they all come from the same plant called Camellia sinensis, aka tea tree. The difference between each type of tea are created by various processing methods. And today on our Explain episode, we're gonna talk all about tea. Starting from what is tea, a little history background, and two major processing methods that creates dramatically different quality of tea, and their 6 various types. And of course, as usual, we also discuss the incredible health benefit that tea gets to offer. So get your favorite cup of tea, sit back, and let's get straight into it, shall we? Simply put, tea is a beverage made from the leaf of the Camellia sinensis plant. And there are only 2 varieties of Camellia sinensis with countless amount of cultivar. That ancient tea originated in China, prefers to grow in a cool and foggy hill, and are mostly grown in China, Taiwan, and Japan. This variety produces small tea leaves and doesn't grow higher than 20 feet tall. The Camellia sinensis var. Assamica, found in India, loves tropical climate instead, and they're mostly grown in India, Sri Lanka, and Kenya. Assamica variant leaves are significantly bigger, and the plant can grow up to 50 feet tall. While depending on the local weather, tea can be harvested up to 5 times a year. From the tip of the tender new growth to the old leaves, seed, and stem, all parts have their different uses, making it great in economic values. Tea tree was first discovered over 4,700 years ago in China and has been a significant part of Chinese culture since 420 AD. Interestingly, the first group of people that started to grow tea in China were the monks, because they realized that drinking tea can help them focus while meditating. And about 400 years later, Japanese and the Korean monks brought the tea seed back to their country, nurtured the local tea culture, and passed them down to this day. Although afternoon tea is a big part of the English culture, the Western world haven't seen tea until 1590s. Tea was first brought to Portugal and then Netherlands, then finally to England. Now, even though English was not the first Western country to access tea, it has definitely played a major role in promoting tea culture worldwide. In 1835, the Assamica tea variants were first discovered in India. This made the later British colonizer very happy and began to produce tea in large quantity in India to sell worldwide. The popularity of tea was flourished over the past 300 years, but the competition of tea resources has also caused many conflicts among the nations. The 2 most famous ones are probably the Boston Tea Party in 1773, which sparked the American Revolution, and the Opium War between China and Britain from 1839 to 1860. It indirectly led to the end of the Chinese imperial system. A notable invention after this was the tea bag, and surprisingly, the tea bag was invented by accident in New York. We talked about this before, and sure, I'll leave a link at the end of the video for you. If you have bought loose tea like this before, you know that the price range, the flavor, the appearance of the leaf after brewing can vary greatly. Some tea leaves resemble small granulins, while others retains the complete shape of the leaves. Excluding the fine tea that is purely handmade in the tea house, even when comparing factory-produced tea, there are still significant differences among them. The major difference lies in whether the traditional craftsmanship method are used or the CDC method invented in 1930s. Let me break it down for you. First, I want to mention that when we're talking about processing tea, it's a bit different than what we normally think of. Processing tea does not involve adding any external ingredients, and instead it relies on the carefully timed implementation of ancient practices such as withering, rolling, fixing, oxidation, and drying, which transform raw tea leaves into one of the 6 major types. So tea in general is not considered a processed food, especially traditionally processed tea. And on the other hand, if you add the other chemical into it and make it into a canned or bottled tea, then that's another story. And this is also why the traditional tea lover doesn't even consider canned or bottled tea like a true tea. It's kind of like those 3-in-1 instant coffee to a coffee lover, you know what I mean? Now, traditional tea making craftsmanship aim to retain the complete shape of the leaves using full or partially manual processes, and this is the standard production method for all 6 types of tea back in the day. The tea leaf we buy in the market have all been dried, with the moisture contents remaining below 3 to 5%, making the leaf very fragile with a relatively limited shelf life compared to canned tea. Tea that retain the complete shape of the leaf can be sold at a much higher price, and generally speaking, there's a direct relationship between the quality and the price. Unless you're buying in like a tourist spot, because there's scammer everywhere, I guess. CTC stands for crush, tear, and curl. CTC tea is made purely by machinery. It requires very minimal manual labors and is therefore regarded as the lowest grade of tea production. The leaf goes through all these processes of crushing, tearing, and curling them into little balls. This allows the flavor to be brewed much faster than whole leaf tea. However, the flavor profile and aroma are significantly worse than traditional processed ones. The CTC method is extensively used in the production of black tea in India. The tea bag that we commonly see in our daily lives are all CTC tea, which is why tea bag can be sold so cheaply. Now, we mentioned earlier that all types of tea come from the same plant, but with different processing methods. Some with a lot of different steps that takes over months to produce, and some only takes 2 steps and a few days to make. According to the classification of the Chinese tea ceremony, there are 6 major types of tea. Let's look at them one by one. Black tea is the most well-known type of tea around the world. Most black tea are produced from making tea bag or flavor bottle tea. The Arizona canned sweet tea that you got in the store, as well as milk tea and boba tea, are all made with black tea. Black tea is a fully oxidized type of tea. The oxidation process gives the leaves a brownish color and a rich taste with an aroma of malt, making it great to pair with milk and sugar. In Chinese, we actually call black tea red tea, but both of these names are trying to describe that golden red color of the tea after steeping. The majority of black tea is produced in India, with Assam black tea being the most famous type. Now, green tea, the second most popular type of tea in the world, are mainly grown in China. It is usually made with the new growth tender leaf on the tip of the plant and processed in a non-oxidized ways. This method retains the original flavor of the fresh picked tea leaves, but its shelf life is only about 6 to 8 months, which is shorter than regular black tea. The taste of green tea is fresh and crisp, with a faint of fruity aroma. The tea color is light green with a yellowish tint, giving you an illusion of the taste isn't that strong, making you want to steep it for longer. Although controlling the steeping time of green tea is very important, and it is easily to become bitter if steeped for too long. Qingming and Longjing are both very famous Chinese green tea, and if you didn't know, the famous Japanese matcha is also a type of green tea, so let's take a little quick look at that. The first matcha in the world is actually originated in Chinese Tang Dynasty and was later introduced to Japan by, again, Buddhist monks. It became an important part of Japanese tea ceremony and earned a reputation of being the espresso of the tea world. Matcha is made by grinding whole green tea leaf into fine powder, and it has the highest caffeine content because you're consuming the actual plant itself as well. But at the same time, it is very rich in antioxidant, providing anti-cancer benefits. When brewed, matcha results in an opaque, bright green color that appears almost creamy. Remember that it is still a type of green tea, but in powder form, so it is even more likely to spoil from humidity, giving it an even shorter storage period than regular green tea. Compared to regular tea, it has a way richer taste, and the price differences between cheap and high-grade matcha can be significant, sometimes as much as 100-fold. Oolong tea has a similar processing steps like black tea, but is not fully oxidized. Different degree of oxidation produce tea with varying flavors and aromas. The tea color appears light yellow with an orange tint to it and has a citrusy and floral aroma. Oolong is usually made with mature tea leaf and is mainly produced in China and Taiwan. Taiwan's high mountain oolong tea is world famous, but its production is low and mostly for domestic consumption. So it makes it a great gift to bring home for your friends and family when you travel to Taiwan. 大红袍 and 铁观音 are both very famous oolong tea. Now, the following 3 types of tea are very uncommon in the Western world, so we'll just give you a little brief introduction. The most distinctive feature of pu'er tea compared to others is that it goes through a fermentation process. Instead of loose tea, it is usually sold in a compact form. We call it tea bricks. Because pu'er can be stored for years and, a matter of fact, prefers that way. Aging pu'er can increase the flavor, aroma, as well as its value, and it is the only type of tea that contains probiotics. Kombucha doesn't count because it's not in the 6th category. It was added on after. Pu'er has the darkest tea color out of the 6 type that almost seems opaque. Now, white tea has the fewest processing step out of the 6. It only goes through withering and drying before it reaches your teapot. It retains the most original flavor of the tea leaves and is considered the most delicate and elegant type of tea. The golden tea soup is slightly deeper than the green tea, with layers of delicate flavor such as pine wood, corn, and roasted caramel. It smells sweet, floral, and fruity. Now, last but not least is our yellow tea. Yellow tea is the rarest type out of the 6, produced only in China. And even in China, the market share is only about 0.5%, making it a collector-grade tea. If you ever heard people talk about 5 types of tea, it's most likely that they didn't count yellow tea into it. Now, I personally have never seen or tasted yellow tea before, but according to my tea dictionary, the tea starts with a vegetal flavor and end with a sweet note. Yeah, it didn't really say much, so I guess we just have to try one day ourselves. Now that we know about the 6 types of tea, let's talk about the health benefit of drinking tea. Tea is rich in antioxidants and contains compounds like catechins, which help boost immunity. The tea polyphenols protects brain area responsible for learning and memorizing, reducing the risk of degenerative brain diseases. Theanine is a potent stress reliever, and when combined with caffeine, it increases alertness while reducing stress. Flavonoids can protect our heart and reduce the risk of cardiovascular diseases. The antioxidants help detoxify the body, promoting cell repair and regeneration, which can improve our skin health. And the fluoride in tea can strengthen bone health and prevent cavity. Green tea and white tea, due to minimal processing, are the most beneficial for health among the 6. Oolong tea is great for aiding digestion after meal, while pu'er is known for its fat-burning effect due to its probiotics. Although these benefits are only effective to us if we drink more than 3 cups of tea a day. But for actual tea lover like me, it is not hard at all. And that's it for today. Please give it a thumbs up if you find this information useful for you. It's gonna help my channel dramatically. Last but not least, don't forget to subscribe on my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!